You stand in a quiet room before sunrise. The air is cool. The screen's glow paints your face. Your fingers hover over the trackpad, while the alarm on your phone buzzes again, like a fly you keep swatting. Your shoes wait by the door. Your half-finished file blinks in the dock. A tiny voice bargains. 5 more minutes. Tomorrow will be cleaner, easier, better. You smirk because you know the truth. Tomorrow is a rumor. The room holds its breath. You take one. The second hand moves. You move with it. Here's the reality you rarely say out loud. You don't quit in dramatic scenes with swelling music. You quit in whispers. One small negotiation at a time. The loop is familiar, even if you've never named it. A trigger shows up. Fatigue, discomfort, confusion. Then a thought. Later. Then a justification. I'll do it right when I'm fresh. Then the exit. Tab closed, shoes untied, effort delayed. A brief relief follows, like steam leaving a kettle, and then the cool draft of regret. Confidence dips a notch. Next time, the loop runs a little smoother and not in your favor. Call it what it is, a practiced path, not a permanent personality. You trained this reflex by repeating it, so you can retrain it by repeating something else. Your mind isn't marble, it's clay. It takes the shape you handle it in, especially at the hinge points where decisions flip the day. The first interrupt is simple enough to remember when you're tired. Name, breathe, do one. You catch the urge, I want to stop, and you name it exactly. There's the urge to stop. Naming steals the disguise. It moves the feeling from me to this. You're not wrestling identity. You're noticing an impulse. Next, you breathe. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, 4 rounds. You deliver your nervous system a calm mail, stamped, not an emergency. On the 4th exhale, you do one, the smallest observable action that points your body toward the task. Open the file, lace one shoe, write the subject line. The power in do one isn't the size of the step, it's the stepness of the step. It destroys the idea that you must feel like moving to move. Your mind follows motion, like a sail follows wind. Once you perform the smallest forward action, the next becomes easier to accept. Not because you're suddenly heroic, but because your brain updates. I'm already doing this. Momentum is not a mood, it's a sequence. You add a second tool, the 2-minute momentum protocol. You set a timer for 120 seconds and commit to remain in contact with the work until the timer ends. Remain in contact is precise. You don't need big outputs. You need unbroken contact. Fingers on keys, eyes on page, body moving through the first reps. If after 2 minutes you still want out, you may exit, cleanly, consciously. Most days, the gate swings and you notice you're already 10 minutes in. The hardest part was the hinge. Watch how threshold moments hide in ordinary days. You open your inbox and feel a spike of overwhelm. That's a hinge. You load a blank page and the cursor blinks like a dare. Hinge. You look at a kitchen scale, a barbell, a meeting agenda. Your chest tightens by 3 degrees. Hinge. Catch the hinge and you own the door. Miss it and the loop runs you. Use this short script to catch it. I see the hinge. Name it. Breathe 4 by 6. Now one tiny move. Keep the phrasing simple so your mouth can move before your mind mutinies. Practice the script on small things first. Send one email you've delayed. Wipe one counter. Read one paragraph aloud. You're not trying to conquer the mountain. You're anchoring the rope. Let's place you inside a morning that would usually slip. It's 5:02 a.m. You work the opening shift, and the shop smells like dark roast and rain. Certification exam in 6 days. You've started the study module 6 times and abandoned it 6 times at the same screen, where the diagram turns technical and your confidence fogs. Today you do something different, not louder, just different. There's the urge to stop, you say under your breath. 4 long breaths. On the 4th exhale, you tap the module and read 1 line aloud, slow and steady, before the first customer knocks. 2 minutes of contact. You're not brilliant, you're present. 10 minutes later, you've answered 4 questions. The shift begins, but the loop broke earlier, and you can feel the new groove under your steps. If you have a history of bailing, expect a ghost of that history to visit. It will wear reason's clothes. This isn't the right plan. This step is too small to matter. Smile at the costume. Permission isn't required. When you name, breathe, do 1, you're not voting on your identity. You're showing it. I am the kind of person who begins now. That sentence lands better as action than affirmation. But once you've moved, say it to yourself anyway. Words trail proof. You will be tempted to upgrade too fast. Today you did 1 push-up, so tomorrow you'll do 50. Resist the lunge. The first days are for building reliability, not performance. Reliability is the rarest trait. People can have talent in armfuls and still be ghosts to their own commitments. When you teach your brain that you always show up, even for 2 minutes, it starts spinning up readiness earlier. It makes room for the work. Show up enough days in a row and begin becomes your default verb. Keep a tiny ledger, a page you can glance at without ceremony. Draw 2 columns, hinges caught, and do 1 actions. Each day, tally 3. Not because streaks are sacred, but because visible proof stiffens a spine. You're building a museum of starts. When doubt storms the lobby, you walk it past the exhibits. If you miss a hinge, because you will, your next move is not penance, it's repair. Penance looks backward and keeps score. Repair looks forward and restores function. The fastest repair is a 60-second reset. Name, breathe, do 1. You can reset at noon, at 9:47 p.m., mid-meeting, mid-mile. The calendar doesn't own resets. You do. A brief note on biology, just enough to be useful. When you avoid a hard thing, your body rewards you with a little relief cocktail. It's pleasant. When you approach a hard thing and touch it, your body releases a different cocktail. Alertness first, sometimes friction, then a quieter satisfaction later. You can't bypass the first frictions. They are the toll gate. Your breathing pattern is the exact currency the gate accepts. 4 in, 6 out. Pay, then pass. Make friction flips your default micro design. Put the file you need on the dock, not buried in folders. Lay the shoes by the door with socks inside them. Put the study tab as the browser's first home, not a mid-stack tab. Remove the game, the scroll app, the news drip from the front page. Not forever, just from the first hour. You're not building a fortress. You're moving the furniture so the path is straight. Now, a 3-part warm start you can do anywhere. 1. Whisper your why in a sentence that names a person you serve. I train so I can play on the floor with my daughter. I write so my future client can decide in clarity. People pull better than prizes. 2. Set the 2-minute timer and place your body where the work happens. Chair, mat, track, call. 3. Perform the first physical motion. Open, lace, lift, dial. Warm starts beat warm thoughts. You don't need a lifelong oath. You need a morning contract. The daily contract reads, I begin once, now. That's it. Renew tomorrow. The The long arc will take care of itself if the hinges keep swinging in the present tense. That is where you live. That is where you move. That is where loops break. If the voice in your head sneers at small beginnings, let it speak and leave it unentertained. Don't debate the heckler. You can't win an argument with a script that doesn't care about truth, only comfort. You win by carrying your attention, with your action, to the spot your hands are needed. Attention is a leash. Clip it to the task, not the bark. Here is a simple game to make beginnings automatic. Choose one daily anchor time: waking, post-coffee, after lunch. At that anchor, the rule is, do one page, one set, one call, one paragraph. If it feels insulting to your ambition, good. Let ambition learn patience. Prove you're here to build a wall, not pose with bricks. When you've begun, acknowledge it. Don't sprint on. Pause for a heartbeat. I said I would start, and I started. That sentence is a seed you're planting in the soil of identity. You won't feel it grow today. You will feel it when the weather turns against you and the roots hold. Identity is not a poster on your wall. It's 1,000 microproofs cataloged by a watchful brain. To deepen the groove, add a micro-yes ladder. Write down the next 3 steps at the scale of minutes, not months. Example: open the brief and highlight 3 verbs. Stand and stretch. Then sit and type 1 sentence. Set the next timer. 3 checked boxes build a rung you can place your weight on tomorrow. If a step feels fuzzy, make it smaller until it's concrete enough to touch. Vague work is heavy. Clear work is light. A final picture to carry in your pocket. You're at a crosswalk late at night. No cars. The signal shows a red hand. You tap the button. You could jaywalk. You always have. But tonight you wait for the white walker. It arrives slower than your patience thinks it deserves. Still, you step when it appears. You didn't need to. You chose to. That's the muscle. Not because a camera watched. Not because anyone clapped. Because you decided your choices are yours, even when convenience is cheap. Build that muscle at small, boring intersections, and it will be there when the big crossroads appear. Now bring it back to the room, to the glow, to the shoes. There is a hinge close by, closer than a minute. It's the next decision that touches your day. You catch it. You name it. You breathe 4 by 6. You do 1. You stay for 2 minutes in clean contact. You feel the click as the door gives. You go through. The room exhales with you, and the first lines of the day appear exactly where your hands placed them. You step out of the door with more than shoes on your feet. The momentum you began building is now an invisible cloak, wrapping itself tighter around you with each deliberate choice you make. It doesn't feel like much yet. It never does in the beginning. A small win doesn't seem like much of a triumph when it's just 1 step, 1 page, 1 thought. But in truth, these moments add up in ways you can't yet see, like drops of water that shape the landscape over time. And that's the beauty of it. Momentum doesn't announce itself. It creeps up, slowly but surely, until you realize one day you've crossed a threshold you never thought possible. This is the key. You don't need grand gestures to change your life. You don't need to wait for the perfect day, the perfect mood, or the perfect circumstances. You only need consistency. Small, manageable steps that seem insignificant on their own, but combine to build something far more powerful. The challenge is not to aim for perfection, but to maintain a steady pace, one that moves you forward, even on the days when the mountain looks too high to climb. Today, you decide that this will be the day you start again, Not a drastic change, not a radical shift, just one more win to add to the ledger. It starts with a single decision, one that builds your capacity to trust yourself, to finish what you start. You begin by picking up where you left off, no matter how small it feels. One action, one choice. You're not trying to finish the book, the project, or the goal today. You're just taking the next step. When you decide to act instead of wait, you start creating a mental framework that sees obstacles as part of the process, not as reasons to quit. Every challenge that comes your way, no matter how frustrating, becomes another opportunity to reinforce the habit of persistence. It's easy to think of obstacles as evidence that you're not cut out for this. Too hard, too much, too far out of reach. But that's the trap. What if these very obstacles are the stepping stones you need? What if every difficulty is a chance to build the muscles of resilience, patience, and adaptability? Here's the catch. The moment you stop treating obstacles as failures and start seeing them as opportunities to build, you shift from a passive player in your life to an active one. It's not the absence of challenges that determines success. It's how you respond to them. Every time you choose to face an obstacle, instead of shrinking from it, you fortify your foundation. You begin to see obstacles as tests that prepare you for bigger things, for the kind of success that isn't handed to you, but earned. Think about how much easier it is to approach life when you know you've built this mental resilience. It's like playing a video game. The harder the level, the more you gain from pushing through. And at the end of that challenge, you don't just feel victorious. You feel stronger, more capable, more prepared for whatever comes next. This mindset doesn't just happen overnight. It's a skill that you develop through consistency, through showing up every day, even when the conditions aren't perfect. In the beginning, this might feel awkward. You might second-guess yourself, hesitate, or wonder if it's even worth the effort. But that's the lie. That's the voice that has been trained over years to tell you that quitting is easier than trying. But when you interrupt that voice, when you choose to take action instead of retreating into comfort, you send a message to your mind that you are someone who moves forward, regardless of how you feel. You see, it's not about waiting for motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes in waves. Some days it's easy to feel inspired. Other days, it feels like you have to drag yourself out of bed. But consistency, sticking to the plan even when you're not motivated, is the real driver of success. This is where systems come into play. Systems are the backbone of persistence. They remove the need for constant decision-making and energy-draining willpower. When you set a system, you create an automatic process for success, one that works even when your motivation is nowhere to be found. What does that look like in practice? It's simple. You create habits, systems, and routines that keep you on track. You don't need to think about it every single day. It just happens. For example, you might set a goal to exercise every day. That's great. But the key is setting up the system around it so that, no matter what, you can still succeed. You lay out your workout clothes the night before. You plan your meals in advance. You set reminders on your phone. You make it as easy as possible for yourself to succeed. Systems remove the decision-making barrier. When you wake up and your workout clothes are already waiting for you, you don't have to think about whether you'll exercise today or not. You just do it. The system takes care of it. The key is consistency. Once you commit to a system, you commit to the process, not the result. The results will come, but only after you've shown up consistently, day after day. The real power of systems lies in the way they free up mental energy. When you rely on motivation to drive you, you're constantly using up your mental resources. But when you rely on systems, those resources are preserved. You're no longer drained by the decision-making process. Your actions become automated, and your focus can shift to other, more important aspects of your life. But this isn't about achieving perfection. This is about progress. Every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. Every time you show up and do the work, you're building something. You're building the muscle of persistence, the muscle of reliability, and over time, that muscle becomes stronger. The more you show up, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable of achieving your goals. Consistency is what makes the difference. It's what separates those who start and stop from those who finish. It's what separates those who dream from those who make those dreams a reality. And it's what separates those who want success from those who actually achieve it. You're building that consistency now, with every small action you take. As you continue on this journey, remember that there's no need to rush. You don't have to reach your goal today. All you need to do is keep taking small, consistent steps. And every time you make progress, no matter how insignificant it feels in the moment, you're strengthening your resolve. You're building your persistence muscle. And when life throws its inevitable obstacles your way, you'll be ready. So, what's the next step for you today? It's simple. It's the same step you took yesterday, and the one you'll take tomorrow. It's the one that says, I'm showing up. I'm doing this. I'm going forward. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about building momentum and getting one step closer to the person you are becoming. There will be days when it feels hard, when the weight of the work seems unbearable. But remember, those are the days when you are growing the most. Those are the days that build mental muscle. Those are the days that prove your persistence. And the more you show up, the easier it becomes. Keep moving. Keep taking action. Keep pushing through. Every step, no matter how small, is a victory. And every victory brings you closer to becoming the person you want to be. The person who never gives up. The person who sees obstacles as opportunities. The person who understands that success is built one small, consistent action at a time. As you move forward, the path doesn't always get clearer. In fact, it often becomes more uncertain, more confusing. The challenges you face seem to grow in size and complexity. You've already taken those initial small steps. But now, the real work begins. You're no longer just building the habit of showing up. You're being tested. Your patience is being stretched. Your resolve is being pushed to its limits. But this, right here, is where you need to focus. It's easy to see obstacles as something to avoid. We're wired to avoid discomfort, to stay within our comfort zones where everything feels safe and predictable. But if you keep running from challenges, you'll never grow. The secret to success lies not in avoiding obstacles, but in embracing them as part of your training. Think of the gym. When you lift weights, the resistance is your training ground. It's not the absence of resistance that makes you stronger. It's the fact that you push through it. The same principle applies to life. Every obstacle you face is resistance that will shape you into a stronger, more capable version of yourself. Every challenge is an opportunity to test your mental and emotional strength. And if you approach them this way, you begin to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones. You're already doing this in small ways. When you face a tough situation, whether it's a difficult conversation, a frustrating task, or a moment when you feel overwhelmed, you make a choice. You can either let that obstacle define you, or you can decide to rise above it. You can decide that this challenge is just another part of the process, another rung on the ladder to success. But that mindset shift doesn't happen automatically. It takes practice. It takes daily reinforcement. And that's where systems and habits come into play. You're building a system of responses to challenges that bypasses your old reaction patterns. Instead of seeing obstacles as signs that you're on the wrong path, you start seeing them as markers of progress. When you face difficulty, you don't flinch. You face it head on because you know it's part of the process. The first step in transforming obstacles into training is reframing. It's about changing the way you perceive challenges. Instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of thinking, "This is too hard," you start thinking, "This is making me stronger." You shift from a victim mindset to a growth mindset. You stop seeing yourself as at the mercy of life's difficulties and start seeing yourself as someone who can grow through them. Reframing is a powerful tool. It's the difference between feeling like a victim of circumstances and feeling empowered by them. The more you practice reframing, the more natural it becomes to view challenges as opportunities for growth. The more you begin to see obstacles as opportunities, the more your confidence grows. You begin to realize that you are capable of handling much more than you thought possible. But here's the thing. Reframing doesn't mean that obstacles will disappear. Life doesn't become a smooth, obstacle-free highway just because you decide to face challenges with a positive mindset. Obstacles will keep coming. That's the nature of growth. But what changes is your ability to handle them. When you've built the mental and emotional muscles to deal with challenges, they stop feeling like insurmountable barriers. They become tests, opportunities to prove your strength, resilience, and persistence. Here's a practical example. Think about a time when you've faced a setback. Maybe it was a project that didn't go as planned, a rejection you didn't expect, or a failure that stung. At first, the setback may have felt like a major defeat. You might have questioned your abilities or felt discouraged. But now, looking back, you realize that setback was actually a setup. It taught you something important. It exposed a weakness, a skill gap, or an area where you needed to improve. It may have redirected you toward a better opportunity. In hindsight, that setback was necessary for your growth. That's the key to shifting your perspective on obstacles. They're not permanent roadblocks. They're temporary challenges that prepare you for the next level. They're the very things that make success possible. Without them, you wouldn't grow. You wouldn't develop the skills, mindset, or resilience needed to tackle bigger challenges. So how do you implement this mindset shift in your daily life? Start by identifying your current obstacles. What are the challenges you're facing right now? Are they physical, mental, emotional, or relational? Once you've identified them, ask yourself, how can I reframe this challenge as an opportunity? What is this situation trying to teach me? What strength or skill can I develop through this experience? For example, let's say you're struggling with a difficult project at work. You could view the situation as overwhelming and frustrating. Or you could reframe it as an opportunity to develop new problem-solving skills, improve your communication with colleagues, or push through your comfort zone. The challenge doesn't change, but your approach to it does. And when you shift your mindset in this way, you empower yourself to take control of the situation rather than letting the situation control you. Another powerful tool in this process is journaling. Writing down your thoughts, frustrations, and reflections on obstacles helps you gain clarity and perspective. It's also a great way to track your progress. When you look back on your journal entries, you'll often see how challenges that once seemed insurmountable became stepping stones that pushed you forward. Along with reframing, it's important to develop resilience. Resilience is your ability to bounce back from setbacks, to keep going when things get tough, and to maintain your focus despite obstacles. Resilience is built through repetition. The more you face challenges head-on and push through them, the stronger your resilience becomes. Each time you overcome a difficulty, you become more capable of handling the next one. Resilience also involves managing your emotions. When you face a setback or obstacle, it's easy to become frustrated, angry, or discouraged. But those emotions are temporary. What's important is how you respond to them. You have the power to choose your response, instead of letting your emotions dictate your actions. Practice emotional regulation. Take a deep breath, acknowledge your feelings, and then choose the next step forward. One powerful strategy for building resilience is practicing gratitude. Even in difficult situations, there's always something to be thankful for. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right. It reminds you that, even in the midst of obstacles, you are making progress, learning, and growing. When you practice gratitude regularly, you rewire your brain to focus on the positives, which in turn makes it easier to handle challenges. The key takeaway here is that obstacles are not the enemy. They are the training ground for your personal growth. They are the fire that forges you into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to prove your strength, develop new skills, and move one step closer to your goals. So, when the next obstacle arises, and it will, don't run from it. Don't shrink back. Embrace it. Use it as an opportunity to grow. Reframe it as a challenge that will make you better. And most importantly, keep moving forward, no matter how small the step. Obstacles are inevitable. Growth is optional. The choice is yours. But remember, every time you face an obstacle and choose to rise above it, you're one step closer to becoming the person you've always wanted to be. There's a voice inside your head that's always there, lurking. It's not loud, at least not at first. It doesn't demand your attention, but it's always present, like background noise. It says things like, "Why bother? It's too hard. You can't do this." Or, "Maybe tomorrow will be better." It's a voice that rationalizes giving up, making excuses, and convincing you that your goals aren't worth the effort. It's the voice of self-doubt and fear, and it's the most dangerous force standing between you and your potential. That voice is persistent. It doesn't go away, and it gets louder when you face challenges. It shows up when you're about to do something important. It shows up when you're getting ready to take action, and it's at its loudest when you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. This voice, however, is not your enemy. It's a part of your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. It's been trained over time to avoid pain and seek ease. But here's the truth. That voice is lying to you. You are stronger than you think. You can do more than you believe. The key to silencing that voice isn't about fighting it. It's about transforming it. You don't need to let it control your decisions. You can choose to act despite what it says. And in doing so, you change the narrative. You start telling yourself a different story. The more you ignore that voice, the weaker it becomes. The more you push through the discomfort, the less influence it has over your choices. To master this inner voice, the first step is awareness. You need to recognize when it's speaking to you. Awareness is power because it creates space between the stimulus, the voice, and the response, your action. You can't change something you don't acknowledge. The more aware you become of this voice, the more you realize that it's not speaking the truth. It's speaking out of fear. Fear that if you push through, something might go wrong. Fear that you might fail. But what if failure isn't the worst outcome? What if the worst outcome is never trying at all? Think about it. What's the worst that could happen if you kept going? You might fail. You might have to try again. But that's not the end of the world. It's just part of the process. It's part of growth. And the truth is, the more you fail and keep going, the more you learn. Failure isn't permanent. It's a lesson. It's the way you get better. So why let a little fear of failure stop you? The second step to mastering your inner voice is to talk back to it. When it tells you to quit, you tell it, "No, I'm not quitting. Not today. Not ever." This is the start of a new conversation in your head. Instead of the usual self-doubt, you introduce resilience. You challenge that voice. You say things like, "I've done hard things before. This is no different. I'm not afraid of discomfort. I welcome it. This is just a temporary setback. I'll keep moving forward." The more you talk back to that voice, the more you change the script. You take control of the narrative in your head. But there's a catch. This isn't a one-time deal. It's not enough to just do this once or twice. The key to transforming your inner voice is repetition. Every time you hear it, you fight back. Every time it tries to convince you to give up, you remind yourself of your strength. Every time it tries to make you quit, you keep going. Over time, this becomes automatic. You start to believe your new story, the one where you are someone who never gives up, who faces challenges head-on, who keeps pushing no matter how difficult it gets. This transformation is powerful because, eventually, the inner voice that once told you to quit becomes a voice that cheers you on. It becomes a voice that says, "You've got this." It becomes a voice that celebrates every small victory along the way. And with that voice behind you, you'll find that the obstacles you face become easier to handle. They no longer seem like insurmountable walls. Instead, they become hurdles to leap over, challenges to rise to, and opportunities to prove your strength. Now, let's add a layer to this. When you start silencing the voice of doubt, you also need to create a supportive environment. You cannot do this alone. The people around you play a huge role in either strengthening or weakening your resolve. Think about it. When you're surrounded by people who doubt you, who tell you to play it safe, who reinforce your fears, it becomes harder to overcome your inner voice. But when you're surrounded by people who encourage you, who believe in you, and who push you to be better, your resolve becomes stronger. Building a support system is not about having people who just tell you what you want to hear. It's about having people who challenge you, who hold you accountable, and who lift you up when you need it most. It's about having people who help you reframe setbacks, who remind you of your strength when you forget it, and who encourage you to keep going when you feel like quitting. Your environment shapes your mindset, and the people you surround yourself with should be people who bring out the best in you, not people who allow you to settle for less. But there's a difference between seeking support and relying on others to do the work for you. Your support system is there to guide you, to cheer you on, and to help you when you stumble. But ultimately, the work is yours to do. You are the one who has to face your fears. You are the one who has to silence the voice of doubt. You are the one who has to take the next step. You are the one who has to keep moving, no matter what. So, when you feel that voice of doubt creeping in, when you feel the urge to quit, remind yourself that you are not alone in this. You have the tools to fight back. You have the strength to keep going. You have the support of those who believe in you. And most importantly, you have the ability to overcome any obstacle that comes your way. This is where the power of persistence comes in. Persistence is not about being perfect. It's not about never feeling doubt or fear. It's about showing up again and again, even when things get tough. It's about making a commitment to yourself and sticking to it, no matter what. And when you practice persistence, when you make it a habit, it becomes who you are. You become someone who doesn't quit, no matter the challenge. You become someone who keeps going, even when the voice inside your head says, "Give up." Persistence is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's what separates those who make their dreams a reality from those who just wish for it. And the best part? You have everything you need right now to start building that persistence. All you have to do is make the decision to keep going, one step at a time. Every time you push through the doubt, every time you ignore the voice that says, "You can't," you strengthen your persistence muscle. And the more you practice, the stronger that muscle becomes. You can't rely on motivation to get you through the tough times. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. But persistence? Persistence is a choice you make every single day. It's a habit you build. And with that habit comes the ability to accomplish anything you set your mind to. So when the voice of doubt comes up, when the obstacles seem insurmountable, when you're tempted to quit, remember this: you are capable, you are strong, and you have everything you need to succeed. Now is the time to stop listening to the voice that tells you to give up. Now is the time to build the habit of persistence. And with that, you will become unstoppable. Now that you're beginning to silence that voice, you need to ask yourself a crucial question. How do you use the inevitable pain and discomfort that comes with progress to fuel your journey rather than letting it derail you? The pain you feel when facing an obstacle is not your enemy. It's your ally. It's a signal that you are growing, expanding, and becoming stronger. Pain isn't just a negative feeling to be avoided. It's the very thing that creates the conditions for growth. The truth is, when you're pushing yourself towards something meaningful, discomfort is inevitable. Whether it's the mental strain of tackling a difficult project, the emotional strain of trying to work through rejection, or the physical strain of pushing your body past its limits, pain is part of the package. But here's the thing: pain doesn't have to be a reason to stop. It can actually be the thing that propels you forward. When you reframe pain as fuel, you start to see it as an opportunity, not a setback. Think of how an athlete feels after an intense workout. The muscle soreness isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that they've worked their body in a way that will make it stronger in the long run. The same principle applies to your mind and emotions. Every time you push through discomfort, whether physical, emotional, or mental. You are building resilience. You are strengthening your ability to handle future challenges. This shift in perspective is powerful. Pain is no longer something to fear or avoid. Instead, it becomes the raw material you use to fuel your success. The next time you feel resistance, instead of thinking, "This is too hard," or "I can't do this," you can think, "This is making me stronger." Every time you feel that discomfort, remind yourself that you are becoming better. You are moving closer to your goals. But here's where it gets tricky. The more you push through, the more you'll encounter obstacles that seem impossible to overcome. There will be times when the pain feels overwhelming, when the challenge seems insurmountable, and when your mind is screaming at you to quit. This is where most people give up. They hit a wall, and instead of pushing through, they turn back. But you're going to do things differently. You're going to use the pain to fuel your persistence. You're going to remind yourself that these moments of struggle aren't signs that you should quit. They're the moments that matter the most. These are the moments that build your mental and emotional strength. These are the moments that will shape you into the person you need to become to achieve your goals. Consider the story of any successful person, whether it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, or an artist. They've all faced moments where the pain seemed too much. They've all experienced doubt, failure, and fear. But what sets them apart is their ability to use that pain to fuel their progress. They don't shy away from discomfort. They embrace it, knowing that it's part of the process. The process is simple, but it's not easy. You need to become comfortable with discomfort. You need to learn to associate pain with progress. That means when you face a challenge, you lean into it. You don't look for an exit or a shortcut. You stay the course, knowing that every ounce of discomfort is building you into a stronger, more capable version of yourself. It's easy to say that you'll push through when the pain is manageable. But what about when it gets really hard? What about when you've been fighting for what feels like an eternity, and it seems like nothing is changing? That's when you need to dig deep. That's when you need to find your why. Why are you doing this? Why is this goal important to you? When you connect to your deeper purpose, the pain becomes bearable. It becomes part of your larger journey. You realize that the discomfort isn't the end of the road. It's just a temporary part of the process. You push forward not because you're immune to the pain, but because you're motivated by the end result. The pain is not a barrier. It's a tool. This doesn't mean you should ignore your feelings. If you're physically exhausted, take a rest. If you're mentally drained, give yourself time to recharge. But when you know that your goal is worth it, when you know that the pain you're feeling is a sign that you're pushing yourself to new heights, you can keep going. The key is to balance the need for rest with the need to persist. You can't push yourself constantly without breaks, but you can't give up when things get tough either. You need to find the sweet spot between pushing forward and knowing when to pause for recovery. Another important aspect of using pain as fuel is understanding that it doesn't always look the way you expect. Growth doesn't always come in a straight line. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it feels like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But as long as you keep moving, as long as you keep using that discomfort as fuel, you're moving closer to your goal. And when you do reach that goal, when you finally break through after enduring all the pain and discomfort, the sense of accomplishment will be so much sweeter. You'll look back on the journey and realize that the pain was never the enemy. It was the fire that forged you into the person capable of achieving your dreams. When you commit to using pain as fuel, you start to see challenges as part of the process, rather than obstacles that stand in your way. You begin to understand that growth is not comfortable. It's hard, it's painful, and it's often messy. But the payoff is worth it. Every ounce of effort, every moment of discomfort, brings you closer to becoming the person you want to be. So, the next time you're faced with pain, remember this: it's not your enemy. It's the fuel that will take you farther than you ever thought possible. Keep pushing through. Keep leaning into the discomfort, and know that with every step, you're becoming stronger, more capable, and more unstoppable. Pain is not something to fear. It's something to embrace, something to use as motivation. And with that mindset, there's nothing you can't overcome. Now that you've reframed pain as fuel and learned to leverage discomfort for growth, the next challenge is mastering your focus, especially when everything around you is falling apart. Life is unpredictable. We all face moments where plans collapse, circumstances shift unexpectedly, or things simply don't go as planned. In those moments, it's easy to lose sight of your goal, to scatter your energy in a dozen different directions, or to become paralyzed by stress and anxiety. But here's the truth. The most important skill you can develop when life falls apart is focus. Focus is what keeps you anchored in the storm. When everything around you is spinning out of control, your ability to concentrate on what matters most is what will determine whether you succeed or falter. Focus, however, is a muscle. Like any other skill, it requires consistent training and practice. The key is to develop the ability to maintain your focus, not just when things are easy, but especially when things are tough. When chaos erupts, your mind will naturally want to scatter, trying to fix everything at once, jump to conclusions, or panic. But the truly successful people are the ones who have learned how to stay calm, prioritize, and focus on what they can control, no matter the external situation. One of the most effective ways to strengthen your focus during tough times is to apply the next step principle. When everything feels overwhelming, don't try to tackle the entire problem all at once. Instead, focus on the next logical step. What's the one thing you can do right now to move the needle forward? It doesn't have to be a massive leap, just a single action that moves you closer to your goal. When you break down a chaotic situation into smaller, manageable pieces, it stops feeling like an insurmountable obstacle. It becomes a series of small tasks, each one doable on its own. And once you take that first step, you'll find that momentum starts to build. One action leads to another. And slowly, the chaos begins to fade into a manageable challenge. This principle works not only when you're facing major disruptions, but also in everyday life. Consider the times when you're feeling overwhelmed with work, personal obligations, or even your own expectations. In those moments, your mind might tell you to avoid it all. It might urge you to procrastinate or escape. But the most successful individuals aren't immune to those feelings. They simply don't act on them. Instead, they choose to focus on the task at hand, no matter how small. Another key to maintaining focus during chaos is to adopt a hierarchy of importance. When everything seems urgent, it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to handle everything at once. But this approach leads to burnout and ineffective results. Instead, focus on the most important tasks first. Prioritize the actions that will move you closer to your goal. Then, Once you've tackled the most pressing issues, move on to the less critical ones. One practical strategy for maintaining focus during stressful times is creating a daily to-do list. The act of writing down the tasks you need to complete creates clarity. It gives your mind something concrete to focus on, rather than leaving everything swirling around in your head. Once you've listed your tasks, break them down into smaller chunks and prioritize them. By doing this, you create a clear path forward, no matter how messy your day may seem. A critical part of maintaining focus, particularly in a crisis, is managing your environment. Your surroundings play a massive role in your ability to concentrate. If you are constantly surrounded by distractions, be it a cluttered workspace, constant notifications on your phone, or people who demand your attention, your focus will inevitably suffer. Create an environment that supports your ability to focus. For example, if you're working on something important, turn off your phone notifications or use a website blocker to prevent distractions. If you're at home, designate a space specifically for deep work. When you have a physical space that's free of distractions, your mind can tune in to the task at hand with greater intensity. Another powerful way to maintain focus is to practice mindfulness and meditation. These practices help you tune out external noise and center yourself in the present moment. When life feels overwhelming, taking a few minutes to breathe deeply and focus on your breath can reset your mind and bring you back to your center. You'll find that when you meditate regularly, it becomes easier to maintain your focus throughout the day, even during moments of stress. But there's one more tool in your focus arsenal: the ability to reframe distractions. Instead of seeing distractions as frustrating interruptions, try to view them as signals. Distractions often point to areas where you may be trying to avoid something difficult, or they may signal a deeper need for rest or recharging. When you feel the urge to check your phone or drift into other distractions, ask yourself, what am I avoiding? Or, what can I learn from this moment? By reframing distractions in this way, you turn them into opportunities for self-awareness. You start to understand your triggers for procrastination and stress. From there, you can make intentional choices to redirect your focus back to what matters most. This practice doesn't just help with focus, it also builds resilience. It's important to recognize that the ability to focus is not about forcing yourself to work endlessly without breaks. In fact, your focus is strongest when you balance periods of intense work with periods of rest. When you push yourself too hard without allowing time to recharge, you run the risk of burnout. The most successful people are the ones who know how to manage their energy, not just their time. In a crisis or difficult moment, the idea of rest might seem counterproductive. You may feel the need to keep working or pushing through the stress. But remember, even athletes need rest to perform at their highest levels. The key is to rest intentionally, not as a form of avoidance, but as a way to recharge and come back stronger. When you're well rested, your mind can focus more clearly, your body has more energy, and your emotional resilience increases. It's also helpful to remember that focus doesn't mean perfection. There will be days when distractions are harder to overcome, when your mind drifts, or when the stress seems overwhelming. But don't be hard on yourself during these times. Instead, view them as opportunities to practice resilience. Remember, progress doesn't happen in a straight line. It's a series of peaks and valleys, with each valley offering a chance to learn, grow, and improve your focus and mental strength. Lastly, one of the most important things you can do to maintain focus during difficult times is to constantly remind yourself of your purpose. Reconnect with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the larger vision you're working toward? When you lose sight of your purpose, it's easy to get lost in the chaos. But when you stay grounded in your larger vision, even the toughest moments become part of your journey. Focus is not just about keeping your mind on one task. It's about aligning everything you do with your larger purpose. It's about creating a clear path through the noise, setting your sights on your goals, and staying committed to the journey. Focus is the foundation of success. Without it, you can't move forward, but with it, you'll be unstoppable. The ability to stay calm, prioritize, and keep moving forward, no matter how tough things get, is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Keep practicing focus. Keep developing it as a muscle. And when the next crisis hits, you'll be ready. You'll know exactly how to focus on what matters most. Now, you've learned how to silence your inner voice of doubt, reframe pain as fuel, and sharpen your focus even during times of crisis. The next step in your transformation is recognizing that motivation, while important, is not the key to long-term success. Motivation is fleeting. It ebbs and flows. Some days you wake up feeling unstoppable, ready to tackle the world. But there will be days, many of them, when motivation will be nowhere to be found. And when that happens, you'll be left with only one thing: your systems. Systems are the secret weapon of high performers. Systems are reliable, repeatable, and dependable. They don't depend on how you feel. They don't care if you're tired, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. A system is a process, a set of actions that lead to a predictable result. The beauty of a system is that once it's built, it runs on autopilot. It doesn't require your constant attention or a fresh burst of energy every day. Systems work regardless of your emotional state. They're the steady engine that powers you forward, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. When you rely on motivation, you're at the mercy of your emotions. Some days, motivation is there, and you can work like a machine. But other days, you struggle to get out of bed. You might feel like giving up, or simply not doing anything. When that happens, what do you have left? Systems. Think of it like this. Motivation is like a spark. It's what ignites your actions, but it's not enough to sustain them. Systems are the fire that keeps burning long after the spark has faded. They're the structure that turns your ambitions into reality. To build a system, you need to start with a few key components: small actions, consistency, and triggers. Small actions are the individual steps that make up your system. These actions need to be simple, measurable, and within your control. If your system is too complex, you'll be less likely to follow through. The actions should be small enough that you can do them every day without feeling overwhelmed. Once you've identified the actions, consistency becomes your next focus. Systems only work if you stick to them. It's not enough to do something once or twice and hope for the best. You need to show up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. The beauty of consistency is that it builds momentum. As you continue to repeat your actions, they become easier. Over time, they become automatic. The third component is triggers. Triggers are cues that prompt you to take action. They are reminders in your environment that prompt you to follow through on your system. A trigger could be as simple as putting your workout clothes next to your bed so that when you wake up, you're reminded to exercise. Or it could be a time of day, like first thing in the morning or right after lunch, when you've made it a habit to work on your goals. Your system needs to be simple enough to be repeatable, but flexible enough to adapt to changes in your schedule or life. Systems should be designed to withstand disruption, not fall apart at the first sign of trouble. For example, if you're used to exercising for an hour every day, but have a busy week ahead, your system might allow for a 10-minute workout instead. The key is to have a plan that you can follow no matter the circumstances. Now, let's dive deeper into why systems are so powerful. The power of systems lies in their ability to convert willpower into a renewable resource. Willpower is finite. It runs out. But systems don't depend on willpower. Systems are designed to work even when you don't feel like it. When you have a system in place, the action becomes automatic. You don't have to rely on motivation or willpower to get things done. You simply follow the system. But here's the kicker. Systems only work if you track them. Tracking gives you feedback on whether or not you're following through. If you don't track your actions, you have no way of knowing whether you're staying on course. Simple tracking methods, like checking off tasks on a calendar or using a habit tracker, help you stay accountable to your system. When you track your progress, you can look back and see how far you've come. This visual reinforcement keeps you motivated and committed, even when things feel tough. It's also important to realize that systems are about progress, not perfection. You're not going to execute your system flawlessly every single day. Some days, you might miss a step or struggle to follow through. That's okay. The key is to get back on track as quickly as possible. Consistency doesn't mean being perfect. It means getting back up after you fall. Systems also allow you to scale your success over time. Once you've built a system and proven that it works, you can gradually increase the intensity or complexity of your actions. Maybe you start with 10-minute daily workouts, and over time, you increase the duration or add more exercises. Or, if your system involves creating content for your business, you start by writing 1 blog post per week and then increase it to 2, then 3. As your system becomes ingrained in your daily routine, you can gradually push yourself to new levels of success. But there's one more critical piece to systems. They must be aligned with your goals. The actions you include in your system should directly contribute to the outcome you're trying to achieve. If your goal is to become healthier, your system should include actions like exercising, eating nutritious meals, and getting enough sleep. If your goal is to build a successful business, your system might include actions like content creation, outreach, and networking. It's important to remember that systems are not about results. They're about processes. When you focus on the process, the results take care of themselves. By committing to the system and staying consistent with your actions, the outcomes will naturally follow. The beauty of this approach is that it takes the pressure off the outcome. You don't have to obsess over the results. You just have to trust that if you follow the system, the results will come. So how do you start building your own system? Start by identifying a small, specific action you can take every day that moves you toward your goal. Keep it simple, make it measurable, and most importantly, commit to doing it every single day, no matter how you feel. Track your progress and adjust your system as necessary. Over time, this small action will compound, and you'll see the results of your efforts. The great thing about systems is that they work even when you're not motivated. When you rely on motivation, you're at the mercy of your emotions. But when you rely on systems, you can show up and get things done no matter what. It's like having a safety net that ensures you keep moving forward, no matter how chaotic life becomes. The best part? Once your system is in place, it frees up mental energy. You no longer have to think about what you need to do. It's already decided. Your brain can focus on higher-level tasks, like problem solving, creative thinking, and strategy. Systems eliminate decision fatigue and mental clutter, allowing you to work smarter, not harder. The more you build your systems, the more effortless success becomes. You don't have to constantly grind to achieve your goals. You just have to show up, follow the system, and trust the process. And over time, success becomes inevitable. In conclusion, systems are the backbone of long-term success. They give you a structure to follow, allowing you to show up and perform consistently, even when motivation isn't there. By creating systems that align with your goals, tracking your progress, and adjusting as necessary, you'll be able to accomplish more than you ever thought possible. So start today. Build a system that supports your success, and trust that with time, it will lead you to where you want to be. Now that you have a system in place and are executing it daily, the next step is to build the daily disciplines that will keep you on track. Systems are powerful, but they need consistent action to work. The consistency you bring to your daily routine is what transforms goals into reality. It's the small, seemingly insignificant actions you take every day that create the foundation for your success. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your achievements. The most successful people in the world don't rely on bursts of motivation to get things done. They don't wait for the right moment to take action. They've built daily disciplines that ensure they're always moving forward, even when motivation is low. The power of daily disciplines lies in their simplicity. These are small actions that, over time, lead to monumental results. Whether it's waking up early to meditate, exercising for 10 minutes, or reading one page of a book, these actions seem small in the moment, but they add up. Over weeks, months, and years, they compound into something powerful. The key to building strong daily disciplines is to start small. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to adopt a long list of habits all at once. Start with 1 or 2 small actions that you can realistically do every day. Make them so simple that you can't fail. If you want to build a habit of exercise, don't commit to an hour-long workout every day right away. Start with 10 minutes. If you want to read more, don't set a goal of reading an entire book every week. Start by reading just 1 page each day. The power of small daily actions is that they create a habit loop. Every time you complete a small task, you build momentum. You prove to yourself that you can follow through on your commitments, no matter how small they are. And with this momentum, it becomes easier and easier to take on bigger challenges. It's also important to remember that daily disciplines are not about perfection. There will be days when you miss a task or fall short of your goal. That's okay. The key is to get back on track as quickly as possible. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. When you miss a day, don't let it derail your progress. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. The real failure is in not getting back up after you fall. Building daily disciplines also requires a high level of self-awareness. You need to be mindful of when you're likely to skip a task or break your routine. The best way to build self-awareness is through tracking. Tracking your progress helps you see how far you've come and identify any patterns or obstacles that might be standing in your way. It also keeps you accountable. When you track your actions, you have a visual representation of your progress, which reinforces your commitment to your goals. Daily disciplines are not just about completing tasks. They're about building the mindset of someone who finishes what they start. Every time you follow through on your commitments, no matter how small, you strengthen your ability to persist. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes action, who follows through, and who refuses to quit. This identity shift is one of the most powerful transformations you can make. The beauty of daily disciplines is that they're flexible. Life is unpredictable, and some days you might not be able to stick to your exact routine. That's okay. The goal is to have a system in place that's flexible enough to adapt to changes, but rigid enough to keep you moving forward. For example, if you usually go to the gym but can't make it, you could replace your workout with a 10-minute walk or a quick at-home exercise routine. The important thing is to keep the momentum going. Once you've established a solid foundation of daily disciplines, you can begin to scale them. As you build confidence in your ability to follow through on small tasks, you can gradually increase the intensity or complexity of your actions. If you started with 10 minutes of exercise, you might gradually increase it to 20 or 30 minutes. If you started with reading 1 page, you might work your way up to reading a chapter a day. The key is to increase the challenge at a pace that feels sustainable. Don't rush the process. Building a strong habit takes time, and it's important to be patient with yourself. Focus on consistency first, and the results will follow. One of the best ways to reinforce your daily disciplines is to pair them with something you enjoy. For example, if you enjoy listening to music or podcasts, you can listen while you exercise or do chores. If you enjoy journaling, you can combine it with your morning meditation. By associating your daily tasks with something pleasurable, you create a positive feedback loop that makes it easier to stay consistent. Another key to building successful daily disciplines is creating an environment that supports your goals. If you want to eat healthier, make sure your kitchen is stocked with nutritious foods. If you want to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes the night before. By setting up your environment for success, you eliminate barriers to action. You make it easier for yourself to stay on track, even when motivation is low. Daily disciplines also require resilience. Some days will be harder than others. There will be times when you're tired, stressed, or distracted. But it's in these moments that your daily disciplines matter most. These are the moments that test your commitment to your goals. It's easy to show up when everything is going well, but the true test of your discipline is showing up when you don't feel like it. The more you practice daily disciplines, the stronger your resilience becomes. Each time you push through a challenging day and complete your task, you're building your mental muscle. You're training your mind to stay focused on the long-term goal, even when short-term discomfort is present. As you continue to build your daily disciplines, you'll begin to notice something incredible. The small actions you take every day will compound into massive results. The 10-minute workouts will turn into a fitter body. The daily reading will turn into a wealth of knowledge. The small tasks you complete each day will add up to big accomplishments over time. At the heart of daily disciplines is a powerful concept. Consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to show up every day, even for just a few minutes, than to show up once in a while, for hours at a time. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum is the key to long-term success. When you commit to small daily actions, you create a foundation that will carry you through even the toughest times. In conclusion, daily disciplines are the secret to making progress. No matter how you feel, they create consistency, momentum, and resilience. By starting small, staying consistent, and tracking your progress, you'll begin to see results that compound over time. Remember, it's not about perfection. It's about showing up every day and doing the work, even when you don't feel like it. The more you practice, the easier it becomes, and the more you persist, the closer you get to achieving your goals. You've now built systems, developed daily disciplines, and trained your focus, all of which serve to keep you on track as you pursue your goals. But no journey is ever without its obstacles. Life, by its very nature, is full of challenges. And while it's easy to wish for smooth sailing, the truth is that obstacles are not only inevitable, they're necessary. Obstacles are the raw material that fuels growth, and how you respond to them will define whether they break you or make you stronger. It's time to shift your mindset. Instead of seeing obstacles as roadblocks, start viewing them as opportunities for growth. When things get tough, ask yourself, what is this challenge teaching me? Rather than getting frustrated or discouraged, see each setback as an invitation to build strength, resilience, and creativity. The power of reframing obstacles is that it allows you to shift from a victim mentality to a student mentality. Victims complain about their circumstances and feel powerless. Students, on the other hand, see obstacles as a way to learn, adapt, and improve. By adopting this mindset, you take control of the situation. You become the architect of your own growth. Think of obstacles as a training ground for your mind. Just like lifting weights tears down your muscles so they can grow back stronger. Facing challenges tears down your mental limitations, forcing you to grow beyond your current capabilities. In fact, the greater the obstacle, the greater the opportunity for growth. And while the struggle might feel uncomfortable in the moment, it's preparing you for something bigger, something that's beyond your current capacity. This mindset shift requires intentional practice. It's not always easy to look at a failure and think, what's the lesson here? But the more you train yourself to do so, the more natural it becomes. The key is to focus on what you can control, your response. You can't always control the challenges you face, but you can always control how you respond to them. And in that space of control is where your power lies. One way to stay focused on growth during difficult times is by tracking your obstacles. Keep a journal where you write down each challenge you face and, more importantly, what you learn from it. This practice serves two purposes. It gives you a sense of accomplishment when you overcome obstacles, and it helps you identify patterns in the way you deal with challenges. Over time, you'll start to see that obstacles are not as threatening as they once seemed. They become part of your process, something you can navigate with confidence. An important thing to keep in mind is that the biggest obstacles often lead to the greatest breakthroughs. Think about the times in your life when you've struggled the most. While those moments were painful, they likely pushed you to become someone stronger. Every challenge forces you to develop new skills, new mindsets, and new ways of thinking. The key is to see these moments of struggle as stepping stones to your next level. As you start to reframe your obstacles, it's important to remember that growth doesn't happen in a straight line. There will be setbacks, and you will face moments when progress seems slow. But that's okay. Growth is rarely linear. Just because you're not seeing immediate results doesn't mean you're not progressing. Trust the process, and trust that every obstacle you encounter is taking you closer to your goal. A key to navigating obstacles is patience. Often, we want things to happen quickly, but true transformation takes time. Whether it's building a new habit, mastering a new skill, or overcoming a personal challenge, it's important to give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. Rushing the process will only lead to frustration and burnout. Instead, embrace the journey and recognize that every challenge you face is part of the process of becoming the person you're meant to be. You also need to keep your eyes on the bigger picture. When you're deep in the weeds, it's easy to get lost in the frustration of a single setback. But every obstacle is just a small part of a much larger journey. Keep reminding yourself of your ultimate vision, your why. When you focus on the bigger picture, you gain perspective, and the obstacles don't seem as daunting. They become part of the larger story you're writing, and you realize that each challenge is pushing you closer to your ultimate destination. But reframing obstacles isn't just about changing your mindset. It's also about taking strategic action. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what is the best next step I can take? Break the obstacle down into smaller, manageable tasks. When you focus on the next step, rather than the entire problem, you make the challenge feel more achievable. Each small action you take brings you closer to overcoming the obstacle. And sometimes, obstacles are not just external. They're internal. Self-doubt, fear of failure, and limiting beliefs can be some of the biggest challenges you'll ever face. These internal obstacles are just as powerful, if not more so, than external ones. But the same principles apply. Reframe your mindset. Break the challenge into smaller steps, and keep moving forward. Every time you push through an internal obstacle, you build mental strength and resilience. Another powerful strategy is to seek out support. Obstacles don't have to be faced alone. Whether it's talking to a mentor, seeking advice from a friend, or joining a community of like-minded individuals, support can make all the difference. Having someone to encourage you, provide perspective, or offer a different solution can help you move through challenges faster and more effectively. When you face obstacles with the mindset that they are opportunities for growth, you become unstoppable. You start to see every challenge as a chance to level up. And as you continue to grow, you'll find that the obstacles you once feared become less intimidating. You develop a sense of confidence that no matter what life throws at you, you can handle it. In conclusion, obstacles are not your enemy. They're your training ground. They provide the challenges you need to grow, learn, and become stronger. The more you reframe your mindset, break down challenges into manageable tasks, and take consistent action, the easier it becomes to navigate life's obstacles. Remember, the bigger the obstacle, the greater the opportunity for growth. Embrace the challenges, trust the process, and keep moving forward. With every obstacle you overcome, you become one step closer to your ultimate goal. The obstacles you face on your journey are inevitable, but they aren't the only challenge. The next critical piece in your success is how you respond when things don't go as planned, when failure strikes, and when setbacks come crashing down. The most successful people in the world understand that setbacks are simply setups for comebacks. It's a shift in perspective that allows you to transform adversity into opportunity. And once you understand this principle, you will be equipped to handle the toughest of challenges. Setbacks are not signs that you're on the wrong path. They don't mean that your dreams are unattainable or that you should give up. Setbacks are simply temporary detours, momentary pauses that provide valuable lessons and, if you allow them, can strengthen you. They're opportunities for growth, for honing your skills, and for building the resilience you need to succeed. Let's be clear. Setbacks are painful. They can be disappointing, frustrating, and even demoralizing. But how you view setbacks will determine how you move forward. If you see them as failures, something that proves you can't succeed, then you will be defeated by them. However, if you view setbacks as opportunities to learn, pivot, and adapt, then you transform them into springboards for future success. One of the most powerful ways to reframe setbacks is to understand that they're part of the learning process. Every successful person has experienced setbacks. In fact, many of the greatest achievements in history were born from a series of failures. These setbacks didn't deter the successful. They propelled them forward. They used each failure as a stepping stone, each setback as a lesson that brought them closer to success. Think about Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Imagine if he had seen each failure as a sign that he was incapable of succeeding. He might have given up after just a few attempts. Instead, he saw each failure as an experiment, an opportunity to learn what didn't work, and in the end, he succeeded. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." The same principle applies to you. Each setback is not a final verdict on your abilities. It's a lesson in resilience and perseverance. It's proof that you're pushing boundaries and stepping outside of your comfort zone. Every setback you experience brings you closer to mastery. You might not have the full picture yet, but each failure fills in another piece of the puzzle. To further illustrate this, let's look at the concept of the setup for a comeback. A setback is simply the opening act for your future success. It's the part of the story where things feel uncertain, where you face challenges, but it's not the end. The comeback happens when you take what you've learned from the setback and use it to rise stronger than before. Your comeback is defined by how you respond. Do you fold under pressure, or do you rise up and keep going? One of the most powerful ways to ensure that your setbacks become setups for comebacks is by keeping a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities and intelligence are not fixed, but can be developed with effort, perseverance, and learning. When you have a growth mindset, you see setbacks not as failures, but as challenges to be overcome. You understand that you can improve, adapt, and grow from each experience. With a growth mindset, failure isn't something to avoid, it's something to embrace. You understand that failure is not an indicator of your worth, but rather a part of the process. The only real failure is in not trying, in not learning from your setbacks, and in not using them as a foundation for your success. With this mindset, setbacks become stepping stones to something greater. So, how do you make the most of setbacks? The first step is to acknowledge them without judgment. When things go wrong, it's easy to feel like you've failed or that the world is against you. But acknowledging the setback with an open mind allows you to move forward without dwelling in self-pity. Take a step back, breathe, and accept that things didn't go as planned. This is simply part of the journey. Once you've acknowledged the setback, reflect on what happened. What can you learn from this experience? What went wrong? And how can you prevent it from happening again in the future? The key is to focus on the lessons, not the emotions. The emotional fallout from setbacks can cloud your judgment, but the lessons from failure can propel you forward. Next, make a plan. What will you do differently? How will you adjust your approach moving forward? The action steps you take after a setback are what set you up for your comeback. Create a new plan based on the lessons you've learned and take immediate action. The faster you act, the faster you can turn the setback into a comeback. But here's the thing. Comebacks don't happen overnight. They require time, effort, and persistence. The first step is always the hardest, and sometimes the road to recovery can be slow. That's okay. Success is rarely linear, and the path to achieving your goals will involve many twists and turns. The key is to keep moving, no matter how slowly, no matter how difficult it seems. As you progress through life, you'll experience more setbacks, and each one will make you stronger. Each time you overcome a challenge, you build resilience. You build confidence in your ability to handle adversity, and you build a belief in yourself that no setback is insurmountable. The more comebacks you make, the easier it becomes to face the next setback. Over time, you'll begin to see setbacks as normal parts of the process. They won't derail you, they'll fuel you. You'll begin to embrace challenges instead of running from them. And when you face a setback in the future, you'll have a roadmap for recovery. You'll know that the comeback is within reach, and you'll be able to navigate through the setback with confidence, knowing that it's just another opportunity for growth. In conclusion, setbacks are an inevitable part of the journey to success, but they don't have to define you. With the right mindset, setbacks become opportunities for growth, resilience, and self-improvement. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Learn from your failures, take immediate action, and keep moving forward. The more you embrace setbacks, the closer you get to achieving your dreams. Your comeback is waiting, and it's only a matter of time before you rise stronger than ever. Now that you understand the power of setbacks and how they can fuel your growth, let's talk about the next critical element in your mental toughness journey: controlling your inner voice. That voice inside your head, the one that constantly chimes in, offering unsolicited advice, amplifying your doubts, and providing you with reasons to give up. It's a voice we all know too well. It's the voice that asks, "Why bother?" and says, "You'll never make it." It's the one that tells you to quit when the going gets tough. The thing about that voice is that it's a liar. It may sound logical, but it's often driven by fear, insecurity, and a desire to protect you from discomfort. This voice isn't necessarily working in your best interest. Its goal is to keep you in your comfort zone, to prevent you from facing the challenges that lead to growth. If you let this voice dictate your actions, it will keep you stuck in mediocrity. But here's the good news. You have control over that voice. You don't have to listen to it. In fact, one of the most important skills you can develop is the ability to recognize that voice for what it is, and then override it with a more empowering, resilient, internal dialogue. The first step in taking control of your inner voice is awareness. The vast majority of people are unaware of their inner dialogue. They live in a constant stream of thoughts and beliefs that shape their actions and emotions, but they rarely take a moment to notice what they're telling themselves. The key is to start paying attention to the things you say to yourself, especially during difficult moments. When you're facing an obstacle, or when the urge to quit strikes. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it, "This is too hard, I can't do it"? Or is it, "I've got this, I just need to push through"? Once you're aware of what your inner voice is telling you, you can begin to reframe it. This is where cognitive reframing comes in. Cognitive reframing is a psychological technique that allows you to change your perception of a situation by shifting the way you think about it. When your inner voice tells you that something is too difficult, you can reframe that thought by saying, This challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. When it tells you that you're not good enough, you can reframe it by saying, "I am capable of handling this, and every step I take makes me stronger." The power of reframing is that it allows you to take control of your thoughts, rather than letting them control you. It's a way to counter the negative, limiting beliefs that have been ingrained in you over time and replace them with more empowering, positive beliefs. And the more you practice this, the stronger your mental resilience becomes. Another powerful tool for managing your inner voice is to develop a set of standard responses to common negative thoughts. These are pre-prepared, positive affirmations or counter-statements that you can use whenever that critical, negative voice arises. For example, if your inner voice tells you, "This is too difficult," your standard response could be, "I am capable of overcoming anything that comes my way." If it tells you, "You're not good enough," you can counter it with, "I am constantly improving, and I am becoming better every day." The key is to make these responses automatic. The more you use them, the less power your negative inner voice will have. Over time, your brain will begin to default to these positive responses instead of the negative ones. And this shift is incredibly powerful because your thoughts influence your feelings, and your feelings influence your actions. If you can change your thoughts to be more positive and empowering, your actions will follow suit. Another critical aspect of controlling your inner voice is to avoid the trap of what-if thinking. What-if thinking is when your mind spirals into imagining worst-case scenarios that haven't even happened yet. This is where fear and anxiety take root. Your inner voice starts to ask, "What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people laugh at me?" These thoughts can paralyze you, prevent you from taking action, and cause unnecessary stress. The solution to this is to practice staying present. Instead of allowing your mind to jump to conclusions or imagine worst-case scenarios, focus on what you can control in the moment. If you're facing a difficult task, instead of worrying about what might go wrong, focus on the next step you can take. What is the next action that will move you closer to your goal? What's the best thing you can do right now? By staying present and focusing on the immediate task at hand, you can eliminate unnecessary fear and anxiety that would otherwise sabotage your progress. You can also combat negative self-talk by surrounding yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with have a profound impact on your inner voice. If you surround yourself with people who are supportive, encouraging, and share your goals, their energy will influence your thoughts. Positive people can help you see the possibilities rather than focusing on the limitations. Conversely, if you spend time with people who are constantly negative, critical, or defeatist, their energy will infect your own thinking. You'll begin to internalize their doubts and fears, which will strengthen your inner voice's negative narrative. That's why it's so important to curate your environment, both externally and internally. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and actively work to silence the negative inner voices that try to hold you back. Another effective strategy for controlling your inner voice is mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness allows you to become more aware of your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Mindfulness helps you observe your thoughts as they come and go, without attaching any judgment to them. When you practice mindfulness, you create a space between your thoughts and your reactions. This space allows you to choose how to respond to your inner voice rather than reacting impulsively to its negative messages. Mindfulness helps you realize that your thoughts are not facts. Just because your inner voice says something doesn't mean it's true. It's just a thought, and you have the power to question it and change it. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you'll realize that your thoughts are not who you are. They're just temporary mental events that come and go. By creating space between your thoughts and your reactions, you can choose which thoughts to engage with and which ones to let go of. Lastly, be patient with yourself. Changing your inner dialogue doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, practice, and consistency. There will be days when the negative voice is louder, when doubts creep in, and when you feel like giving up. But if you stay committed to your practice, if you keep responding to your negative thoughts with empowering, positive beliefs, you will start to see a change. Your inner voice will become stronger, more confident, and more resilient. And over time, you will become the person who refuses to quit. In conclusion, controlling your inner voice is one of the most powerful skills you can develop on your journey to success. By becoming aware of your thoughts, reframing negative self-talk, developing standard responses, staying present, and practicing mindfulness, you can turn your inner critic into your greatest ally. Your thoughts shape your reality, and by training your mind to focus on what's empowering, you'll find yourself moving forward with greater clarity, confidence, and determination. We've talked about setbacks, obstacles, and how to manage your inner voice. But the next step in your journey is just as essential: using pain as fuel. It's not an easy concept to embrace, especially when it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Pain, whether physical, emotional, or mental, is a powerful force that can either drain you or drive you. Most people avoid pain at all costs. They fear discomfort and seek immediate relief. But here's the truth: the pain you avoid is often the very thing that can fuel your greatest growth. Pain is inevitable. It's an undeniable part of life. We experience it in many forms: disappointments, failures, physical exhaustion, emotional strain, and even the discomfort of stepping outside our comfort zone. But here's the secret: pain isn't inherently bad. Pain is not a signal that something has gone wrong. It's a signal that you're pushing yourself beyond your limits, beyond your comfort zone, and into the realm of growth. Think about physical training. When you lift weights, the burn you feel in your muscles isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're breaking down muscle fibers so they can rebuild stronger. Without that pain, there would be no growth. Similarly, the emotional or mental pain you feel when facing a challenge is the discomfort that precedes strength. The discomfort is your signal to keep going. The more you embrace pain as a necessary part of growth, the more you'll unlock your potential. Using pain as fuel doesn't mean you ignore it or push through it without regard for your well-being. It doesn't mean you ignore the signs that your body or mind need rest or recovery. Instead, it means that you reframe your perception of pain. You stop seeing it as something to avoid and start seeing it as a tool for transformation. Every time you face pain head-on and continue moving forward, you prove to yourself that you're capable of handling more than you thought. You build resilience, perseverance, and strength, mental, emotional, and physical. The more you train yourself to use pain as fuel, the more you will expand your capacity to handle difficulty, and the easier it becomes to push through obstacles in the future. But how do you use pain as fuel in practice? The first step is to shift your mindset. Instead of seeing pain as an obstacle to your success, Start seeing it as part of the process. It's a necessary ingredient in the recipe of success. Whether you're training your body, pursuing a difficult goal, or dealing with personal challenges, pain is a natural part of the journey. And when you start to accept this, it becomes easier to push through it. Another powerful way to use pain as fuel is to associate it with the outcome you desire. When you're facing discomfort, remind yourself why you're doing it. Whether it's the satisfaction of achieving a goal, the sense of pride you'll feel when you succeed, or the growth that will come from pushing through. Focus on the rewards. The greater the pain, the greater the payoff. That's the mindset you need to adopt. Pain isn't the end of the road. It's the fuel that propels you toward your goal. Let's say you're working on a project that requires immense effort. It's tough. You're exhausted. Every bone in your body wants to give up. In these moments, you have a choice. You can give in to the pain, or you can use it as fuel to keep going. Remind yourself that the pain you feel now is temporary, but the results of pushing through will last much longer. This kind of mindset shift allows you to move from "this hurts, I want to quit," to "this is tough, but I'm stronger for it." One of the best ways to build this muscle is by intentionally seeking out challenges. If you only ever stay in your comfort zone, you'll never experience the growth that comes from facing pain. That's why it's essential to regularly challenge yourself, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. When you intentionally step into discomfort, you train yourself to handle pain better. You become desensitized to the fear that comes with it, and you learn to embrace it as a natural part of your journey. Physical discomfort is one of the most effective forms of pain to use as fuel. When your body is tired, when your muscles ache, when your mind is screaming at you to stop, these are the moments that build mental strength. Push through the discomfort, and you're not just strengthening your body, you're strengthening your mind. The more you do this, the easier it becomes to handle any other form of discomfort, whether it's emotional or mental. But physical pain isn't the only kind of discomfort that fuels growth. Emotional pain, while harder to face, can be just as powerful. When you experience failure, rejection, or loss, it's easy to want to retreat. The emotional pain of disappointment can make you want to give up. But what if, instead of retreating, you embraced that pain? What if you allowed the pain to fuel your determination to do better, to try again, and to improve? The key to using emotional pain as fuel is to understand that it is not permanent. It may feel overwhelming in the moment, but it will pass. And the lessons you learn from facing emotional pain can be some of the most valuable in your life. Every time you push through emotional discomfort, you develop greater resilience, emotional intelligence, and strength. Now, mental pain, the strain of a long, difficult journey, the self-doubt that creeps in when things get tough, is another powerful tool for growth. The trick to using mental pain as fuel is to recognize that the mind often exaggerates the pain. It tells you things like, "This is impossible," "You're not capable," or "This is too much for you." But in reality, these are just thoughts, temporary mental states. The moment you recognize them as such, they lose their power. To use mental pain as fuel, you must confront your thoughts and counter them with strength. When the voice inside your head says, "I can't do this," you respond with, "I've done hard things before, and I'll do this too." When it says, "This is too difficult," you respond with, Difficult doesn't mean impossible. With each challenge, you teach your mind that mental pain is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to grow. A powerful technique for harnessing pain is through the process of reappraisal. Reappraisal is the practice of changing the way you interpret difficult situations. Instead of viewing pain as something to avoid, you begin to see it as a necessary part of growth. When you feel emotional, physical, or mental pain, you can reframe it by thinking, "This pain is making me stronger. It's helping me become more resilient. I am capable of handling this." This reframing process shifts the focus from avoiding discomfort to embracing it as a tool for self-improvement. The more you reappraise pain as fuel, the easier it becomes to face it head-on. But there's one final piece to using pain as fuel: the practice of self-compassion. You don't have to be harsh with yourself. Acknowledge the pain, honor the struggle, but don't dwell on it. Understand that pain is temporary and that your journey is about progress, not perfection. The way you speak to yourself during tough times matters. Be kind, be patient, and allow yourself to feel the discomfort without letting it define you. In conclusion, pain is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally. Whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, pain is the raw material for your growth. Embrace it, reframe it, and use it as fuel to push through challenges. The more you lean into discomfort, the stronger you become. Every time you use pain as fuel, you expand your capacity to handle more, to do more, and to achieve more. So, the next time you feel pain, whether physical, emotional, or mental, don't shy away from it. Use it. Let it fuel your next great victory. Let's talk about the importance of building a support system that reinforces your persistence. No one succeeds alone. While it's essential to cultivate the internal resilience to push through challenges, the people around you, your support network, can play a critical role in strengthening your resolve and helping you maintain your persistence. Success is not just about your individual effort. It's about the community you build and the relationships you nurture. And that community should be a source of strength, not doubt. Think about it. When you're facing a tough situation, you're more likely to keep going if you have people cheering you on, holding you accountable, and reminding you why you started. But just as important, the wrong people, those who encourage quitting, comfort over challenge, and mediocrity, can pull you down and derail your progress. That's why you must be strategic about the people you allow into your circle. The first step is to identify the people who strengthen your persistence. These are the individuals who don't just offer empty sympathy, but challenge you, push you to keep going when it's hard, and remind you of your goals when you feel like quitting. They're the ones who hold you accountable, who refuse to let you make excuses, and who, even when they understand the difficulty of the journey, still remind you that you're capable of pushing through. This type of support system is built on mutual respect and understanding. The people who support your persistence don't do so because they want to be nice or make you feel good. They do so because they genuinely believe in your potential, and they want to see you succeed. These are the people who have overcome their own challenges, who understand the importance of persistence, and who want to help you become the best version of yourself. But not everyone will be in that group. In fact, some people in your life may unintentionally weaken your persistence by offering comfort when you need to push forward, or by telling you to take it easy when you should be pushing harder. These people, while they may have good intentions, can create an environment where quitting feels acceptable and mediocrity becomes the norm. If you're surrounded by people who make excuses for you, who accept defeat without challenge, or who tell you that giving up is okay, you will find it much harder to maintain the same level of commitment to your goals. That's why you need to be discerning about who you let influence you. It's not about cutting people off entirely. It's about understanding who strengthens your persistence and who doesn't. And for those who do weaken your resolve, you need to limit their influence on your decisions and progress. This might mean reducing the amount of time you spend with them, changing the subject when they start making excuses, or finding a way to distance your emotional well-being from their negativity. On the flip side, actively seek out those who will hold you accountable and encourage your persistence. These are people who share your values, who push you to be better, and who can provide insight and support when you're struggling. A mentor, a coach, a colleague, or even a close friend who shares your ambitions can be invaluable. They can help you stay focused on your goals and remind you why persistence matters when times get tough. Additionally, building a support system goes beyond just your inner circle of friends and family. Your network of people who understand the value of persistence can also include online communities, groups, or even virtual accountability partners. These people don't have to be physically close to you. They just need to share the same drive and commitment to progress that you do. Having a diverse network of supporters can provide you with different perspectives, encouragement, and resources when you need them most, whether it's in-person support or virtual connections. Having a solid support system allows you to weather the storms and keep pushing forward when things seem impossible. The next step in creating a strong support system is to be that support for others as well. One of the best ways to ensure your own persistence is to encourage it in others. When you help others stay on track, remind them of their potential, and push them to go further, you reinforce your own commitment to doing the same for yourself. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and become the kind of person who inspires others. It's also important to note that your support system isn't static. As you evolve and grow, your needs will change. The people who supported you in the early stages of your journey may not be the same people who help you through more advanced challenges. This doesn't mean you abandon them. It means that your growth requires you to seek new perspectives, expand your circle, and sometimes find new mentors or accountability partners who align with your current goals. You should also be mindful of how you nurture these relationships. A strong support system doesn't just appear. You must actively invest in it. Regularly check in with those who hold you accountable. Communicate your challenges and goals clearly so they can offer meaningful advice. Share your wins as well, so they can celebrate with you and offer the reinforcement you need to continue. When you make persistence a priority, your support system becomes a reflection of that priority. You'll find yourself naturally gravitating toward people who understand the importance of persistence and who align with your values. And when you hit a rough patch, you won't feel alone. You'll have people who believe in you, people who remind you that the struggle is temporary, and people who help you stay committed to your vision. But remember, your support system should be balanced. While it's essential to have people who push you forward, you also need time to reflect on your own journey and to build the inner strength required for success. Your support system should reinforce your independence, not replace it. You are ultimately responsible for your persistence. While others can inspire and support you, you must be the one who makes the decision to keep going. In the end, a strong support system is crucial for maintaining your persistence. It's the network of people who help you stay on track, who challenge you to keep going, and who provide you with the tools, encouragement, and accountability you need to reach your goals. But just as important as finding the right people is making sure you are the kind of person who can provide that same support for others. Building a network that reinforces persistence is a two-way street, and the more you nurture and invest in it, the stronger your own resolve will become. In conclusion, the people you surround yourself with can have a profound impact on your ability to persist through challenges. Seek out those who will encourage you to keep going, who will challenge you to be better, and who will hold you accountable. Build a community of people who share your commitment to growth, and you'll find that your persistence becomes easier, stronger, and more enduring.